So first of all, back in black, excellent. I've got a version of our simple little program that we worked on before, going here. If we just look at the code, all I'm doing is taking a number, converting it into a number in the program, and then spitting it back out as a string. So I've got my input into text box 1, which will be a string. I'm then converting that to an integer, and I'm storing it as number in. And then I'm assigning textbox2.text, that property of textbox2, the value of number in, but converted back to a string so it can go into the text box. So we run that, should just basically spit out my number again. So let's put 6 in and it spits out 6. Let's put 3 in, spits out 3. Let's put hello in. And this is going to horribly break my program. The reason it's horribly broken my program is there is no numeric representation of hello. That is not a number, and the convert to int32 method cannot handle that. Because it can't handle that, because it throws an error, it breaks your entire program. So if somebody's running this in Windows, they'll get the whole, this program is no longer responding, blah, 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 go through all the rigmarole of trying to get that to shut down, which is, not what you want people to do. And while it would be nice to think, oh, I can rely on my users, if I put a label there saying only put a number in this field, they will only put a number in this field. They won't. Users are idiots. So they will break your program if they possibly can. So to close out this kind of, you can see we've got this format exception, an unhandled exception of type system format exception occurred in your program. That's basically saying something went wrong and it broke the program. But there's no handling here at all, so you can't cope with the fact that that hasn't worked. So let's close that out, and to deal with that kind of error, you are going to have to hit that little stop debugging button, because your program is running crashed in the background. You can't actually close it, but it's still being used. So let's comment this out, and we'll try a different method. So remember // on the comments, and let's have a look at this. So this is the try-pass method, and this is a much more sophisticated method for trying to convert strings or other data types into integers, or in fact there's a range of try-passes that apply to different types of data. So in this case, this is a method of int, so the integer object, and it's a method called try-pass, and it has 2 arguments attached to it. So the first argument here is the data that you are putting in. So that could be a variable, but in this case I'm just using the text from text box 1. And then it has this out argument, which is the name of where to store the actual integer itself. So if you do convert it, where do you want your data stored? It needs to be a variable that already exists, so I've got this integer up here, pass result declaration, just to create that memory space for the data to go into. So what try-pass does is it's got kind of 2 steps to it. The first thing it does is it tries to convert whatever data you give it to the integer. If it can't store that data as an integer type, it will spit out false. If it can, it will spit out true. So it gives you a Boolean result of true or false. First of all, if that result is true, it will then use that variable that you've named in the out part of the arguments to store that integer in. So the first thing we want to do is evaluate whether that's actually worked. So we have an if statement here, and it's if int try pass textbox1.text out pass result. So that would, if I just had that, that would be if I can convert it. I put an exclamation mark at the front, which means not. So if int try-pass does not return true. So if int.trypass can't convert our string to an integer, then do the stuff that's below. And below we've got messagebox.show, you must enter a numeric value, and then it just return to kind of exit this bit of code. So it's then going to pop up a message box saying, oh, you've got to put a numeric value in. And then we've got our else. So this is going to be if that method does succeed, what do you do? because remember what we're initially evaluating is if it returns false, if it doesn't succeed. So if it returns true and it does succeed, then we can start doing some stuff with our data, with the number that we've generated, which is stored at the moment as pass result. So let's just do pass result equals pass result times 10. Don't want to do any divisions because we're working with integers here. And then let's do text box 2 oh, I've got to do dot text equals. Now we've still got it stored as an integer, and we can just do a convert dot to string and then brackets, what was it called? Pass result. Notice we don't do all of this rigmarole when we're converting to a string, because a string is a huge data type and can store loads and loads of information, including numeral characters. So we're never going to throw an exception converting from an integer to a string. It's converting from bigger data types to smaller data types where you usually run into problems. So let's have a look. We've now got, if it's not working, pop that message box. If it is working, multiply it by 10, convert it to a string, and throw it into text box 2. So let's have a little run through, see if our program's actually working. So let's try it with a number first. Excellent. If I try it with hello, I get must enter a numeric value. When I hit OK, it's then taken me back to my program. My program's still running perfectly fine. So it's a much, much better method for handling stuff that's typed into a text field. You need to do some data validation there before you start mucking around with it. Hopefully that all makes sense, and we'll move on in the next video to doing some slightly more complicated things.